go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing?
Once more unto the breach. Dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews, connections in mind. Spider-Man No Way Home is the latest feature film released in the cinematic universe, and it is directed by John Watts, and once again stars Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, along with others including Zendaya as MJ and Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. And this film focuses on the immediate aftermath of the bombshell that was released in 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home, where Peter Parker's identity as Spider-Man is revealed. And of course, once that happens, the people, both the adoring masses and the haters, both converge down on Peter, and that's affecting those that he cares about. And in order to, he goes to Doctor Strange to say, hey, can I get a spell that will help make everyone forget that I'm Spider-Man? Then, of course, the spell doesn't go quite according to plan, and Peter Parker then must deal with the fallout from this botched spell. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to do my very best to keep this spoiler-free as far as my initial review, but I will be giving my spoiler thoughts later on in this video. But just so you know, I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first. So let's get into some spoiler-free thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. Is it worth seeing in theaters? Is it a worthy addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Honestly, yes. This is definitely one of the best. This is probably the best of the MCU to be released this year. And actually, I think we've had, what, 4 MCU films this year. It's better than all the other 3, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and the Eternals for sure. And, you know, this might be a hard thing for some people to do given the current state of the world and the pandemic, but if you're fully, I mean, I highly encourage you, if you are fully vaccinated and boosted or whatever, please go see this in a theater, and preferably, you know, as packed a theater as you can that you're comfortable with, because let me tell you, this is one of those, this is probably the most packed I've been into a movie theater since probably before the pandemic, and this was such a fun time to be in a theater with people who are laughing together, who are gasping together, who are crying together. You'll get all 3 in this film, and let me tell you, you don't go to a movie theater, as far as I'm concerned, you don't go to a movie theater just because it's got a big screen and it's got, you know, probably better sound system than what you have in your house. You know, sound and picture quality are getting closer and closer to what the movie can provide. What you're missing by watching all of these feature films that are supposed to be released in a theatrical experience at home is that audience participation, that shared feeling of an audience going into a theater, everyone being excited for it, and this movie giving you almost everything that you could possibly want from this movie. And everyone cheering when, you know, big reveals come in. Yes, there are big reveals in this film. Crying when things happen. Yes, there are things that might make you cry. And then there are teases of things that come before. There are 2 post-credit scenes in this thing, and both of them are like, yes, we will get all of that in this film, and it's definitely worth seeing in a theater with that kind of audience. But moving away from just the theatrical experience and the initial thoughts, what do I think of the movie itself? This film is actually, you know, like I said, it's a lot of fun. This film benefits from having these characters, you know, the interactions between, you know, Peter and Ned, Peter and MJ, even the interactions between, you know, Peter and Doctor Strange. This film benefits from having those previous films build up these characters. So if you have never seen, I would say, the previous Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, and probably Infinity War and Endgame, you might not get that same sort of depth, and that's kind of been a problem with MCU films for the past few years, honestly. But this film really benefits from that, and I think that really this film deals with the crises that Peter Parker faces quite well, I think. And it doesn't leave anything unresolved, and it does set up things that could happen in the future. Really, this I love that this is first and foremost a character piece with some awesome action scenes as well. Again, no spoilers right now, but there are some reveals in this movie that you just simply have to see, because they're just so much fun, and they take full advantage of what they have going for them. And I think that that's what this film's great strengths in this one. Also, the CGI is incredible, as always. And in my opinion, the previous two Spider-Man films, Homecoming and No Way Home, they've sort of suffered under the fact that they're always pairing Spider-Man with another person from the MCU. In Homecoming, it was Iron Man. In Far From Home, it was Nick Fury and Agent Hill and Happy Hogan and all that. This one, the fact that he's also being paired with Doctor Strange, I was worried how Peter would stick out from this, but you need not worry from that. He actually does. There's a good balancing job from this. Maybe a little plot devicey in how they achieve that balance, but nevertheless, that balance is achieved, and I think they did a good job on that. Where I think this film might suffer a little bit is, again, every MCU film has a certain amount of banter. Banter between characters, quip back and forth between the likable characters, and they're fun. They're really fun. There are a couple times where they tend to drag on a little too far. Some things that they quip on, they're being a little bit more self-aware than I think the MCU's used to. And again, even though this is a Sony production, it's not Disney, it is still in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So to see that happen, yes, it's fun, but it can push it a little bit more than I think this film needed to. Also, again, no spoilers yet, but one of the villains, I'm interested to see what people think of this villain, because I think while it is a iconic Spider-Man villain from comics and previous movies, the way they go about it, I think, is a little not cheap per se, but it feels like it's borrowing something that I didn't necessarily earn from that, or uniqueness associated with that. So that's all I'll say on that front. And also, there's one scene in particular that I think is that should have been that is impactful, I will say, but it looks a little bit, in my opinion, it was a little too similar to something that's come before. Again, no spoilers yet, but that's something I feel like this film, it kind of weakened this film a little bit. But really, that's it as far as negatives go in this movie. For me, this is as close as can come to an almost, again, no film is perfect in my opinion. There are people who disagree. There's always something that you can point to and say, okay, this is, that can cut me a little bit, but this is pretty darn close to a perfect Marvel film. And of the Marvel products that we have going on, both the movies and the TV shows that we've been getting on Disney Plus, this is probably the best. This is by far, in my opinion, the best one of anything that we've gotten this year. So I would say, if I was going to give Spider-Man No Way Home a letter grade, I would say this is an easy A. again, those couple things that I mentioned, I think those knock it down just from being an A plus. But easy A, man. Come on, this is so much fun. Go check it out. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, I'm going to say this one more time because I know I say that on all of my reviews, but seriously, this is one where these are big, big spoilers. And if you have not seen the movie yet, and truly do not care about spoilers, you can proceed. But if you have any intention to not know about any of these going into your experience, please stop the video right here and then come back later, because this will be full-on spoiler talk from here on out. So, last warning, here we go, spoilers. First of all, wow, the fact that you bring in Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back into this, and oh my gosh, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. I mean, that was just incredible. And with the pre-release hype that was going on around this, maybe I kind of bought into it a little bit when, I kept reading and is Tobey Maguire says he'll be back, is Andrew Garfield going to be back? And he says, no, just stop asking me this, no. And it's like, people, part of me was like, I kind of went back and forth, it's like, oh, he's just saying that because he has to be coy, he's probably going to be, I was like, well, we've been asking this for months and he's still saying the same thing over and over, he hasn't broken. Maybe he isn't in this. And it's like, oh, holy crap, he is. And then, when they announced that, Kevin Feige is like, oh, I mean, if we're going to put Daredevil back in the MCU, obviously Charlie Cox is going to be back. I was like, all right, cool, that's exciting. It's going to be a future project. It's like, oh, no, it's this right now. And, I mean, that was just awesome. I loved that. I mean, the fact that you have these... you're bringing back the other Spider-Man from the other multiverses to talk to the Peter Parker of this universe, to talk through trauma. Honestly, that's part of what might make this film a little weaker, is that, yes, this is basically the live-action version of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, we've seen this shtick before, and maybe it's a little more dramatic than comedic, because while, yes, Into the Spider-Verse was dealing with, dramatic stuff, this film, that one film was probably a little bit more comedic than this one was, as far as what instigated this talk, or that might be a little bit more the same. You can debate, the ratio of comedy to drama between the two, but yeah, this is basically live action Into the Spider-Verse, and Into the Spider-Verse was awesome. So it's not a huge complaint on that front, but it does feel less fresh because of it, and that could hurt it a little bit, in my opinion. But I mean, honestly, the banter between Maguire, Garfield, and Holland was hilarious. But like I said in the spoiler-free talk, when we get to the point where they're on the Statue of Liberty and they're talking, Garfield and Holland are geeking out over Maguire's organic web shooters, and it's like, okay, yes, that's getting a little long. It's getting a little long. Let's move it along. And then Andrew Garfield's like, oh man, you've done great things. I'm lame. And it's like, no, you're not lame. It's like, okay, now we're starting to break into the the self-aware meta humor here, when the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies were not the most liked, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna linger more on this so long. Like, that whole scene lasted so long, and it's like, all right, just move it on. And yeah, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing, in my opinion, and that was definitely one of them. Also, it's sort of a weird thing, but the fact that the final battle around the Statue of Liberty, where you have the each Spider-Man facing villains from all their universes, from Prime Universe, from Holland's from Maguire's universe, from Garfield's universe, and they're switching out between each other. All right, we're gonna team up on this guy, on this guy. It's like it kind of reminded me of an episode of Xiaolin Showdown. I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's a great series. You should check it out. Where the main four heroes end up facing four villains that are conjured up from their own fears, and they have to tag team and switch out villains to face each one. That kind of reminded me of this, but also it makes me think for all these guys are super brilliant like scientists, these Peter Parkers, but you're facing Electro, whose power is electricity, on the Statue of Liberty that is made up of almost entirely copper. Was that ever a really smart move, guys? I don't know. I mean, it is isolated from the rest of the city, so I get why they chose it on that front, but seriously, guys, electricity, copper, not a great mix when you're trying to fight them. But anyways, also now we come to the what I alluded to before about a scene looking too similar to something that's come before, Aunt May's death. Yes, it is an emotional scene. No, I didn't want her to die, and I heard people, crying a little bit in the theater. And yes, I did tear up a little bit during it, but the fact that you're having this scene now, and amid rubble, aesthetically it looks almost exactly like when Tony died in Endgame. That seemed a little bit too on the nose for me. Plus, why are we doing this now when he's already been Spider-Man? And the fact that, they have, when great power comes great responsibility. Maybe that's going to be this generation's version of that scene. For me, nothing can top, Spider-Man 2000, the original Spider-Man. Maguire's always going to be my Spider-Man. I'm sorry. And, Uncle Ben saying in the car, when great power comes great responsibility, nothing has topped that. Not even this scene. And it felt kind of pointless at this point. I don't know. Maybe let me know in the comments if I'm completely off base on that one. But also, we come to our final point that I kind of wanted to bring up is the fact that the main villain is essentially Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and like I said, it's like he's the one who kills Aunt May, and Holland's fighting him, and he's and he has to be stopped from killing him, and it's like, okay, yes, this should all be working, but part of me is thinking, it's like, this isn't Holland's Green Goblin. This is Tobey Maguire's Green Goblin, and I feel like everything that I've brought to this, all the chemistry that I've instilled into the that's been instilled into the Green Goblin, all that stuff, it's banking on people on the emotion from the Dafoe's performance in the original Spider-Man. When you see him here, it's like, okay, yes, he killed Aunt May, cool. What else we got going for him? The scenes before where he's playing Aunt May as kind of like a sucker when he's like Norman is like, oh hey, I don't know where I came from, I don't know what's going on here, and then it's like, yeah, I don't think that was enough for the villain, and that's what I was talking about, borrowed prestige, where it's like, yeah, the people who saw Spider-Man 2002 grew up with it, and we're bringing that into this, and that's enhancing it, but people who've never seen that before, is this enough for the Green Goblin to stand on its own? Maybe it is, but I'm not entirely convinced of that, and I would have to defer to someone who is knew-it-alls, who hadn't seen the Maguire and Garfield Spider-Mans to see what they thought of it. But that was my main thought. But also, I'll just gonna take this brief chance to geek out a little bit. Oh my gosh, the Venom scene. I am a little disappointed that it seems like we're not gonna get Tom Hardy with Venom in the same scene as Tom Holland Spider-Man. but the way they open up the door, that all right, we're gonna. It seems like now they finally learned their lesson from Spider-Man 3 that they're not going to. It seems like they're earning the black suited Spider-Man at this point, and I'm like, yes, I am so down for that. We're gonna go for this. This is gonna be amazing. And then of course the end, the second post-credit scene, which is really kind of a trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We haven't done this since, I think, end of Captain America, the first Avenger, when the end was a preview for the Avengers. And that one's like, judging by that trailer, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And yes, we're dealing with the consequences of what happened in this very movie. It's like, yes, this is amazing. I want to see this. So, yes. And also, I mean, it's sort of a nitpick, but like I said, Tobey Maguire is always going to be my Spider-Man. No doubt about it. But in this film, like, I think Tobey Maguire's, I think he's pushing, he's in his late 40s now. He might be pushing 50. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, he moves like it, and he moves a little slower than others. And even when he's Spider-Man, it's very obvious that, you know, it's based just Maguire's head CGI'd onto a stunt person's body, and it's like, yeah. And I wish they could have, you know, the one scene, I mean, the money shot where you have all three Spider-Man like posing on top of the Statue of Liberty's head in all three of their suits. That should have been an amazing scene, but I couldn't see it because the lighting wasn't so good. Because I mean, you know, Maguire's Spider-Man suit is so looks so much different. Honestly, actually, now that I think about it, Garfield's suit in this one and Maguire's suit look almost a little too similar, I think. I mean, maybe just that's only because, you know, Maguire's mask and Garfield's mask look different, and the rest of their body looks about the same. That might be why. But that's I mean, I could geek out with this so long, but those are my main thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. What did you think of this movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Did I miss anything? Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which will be for The Matrix Resurrections, I believe, which comes out December 22nd. And also, I'm going to be look for the next installment in my review and reaction series to each and every episode of Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. And if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially a subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.